Hello, my name is Joseph Redzikowski. I'm a freshman engineering student at Clemson University, and I'm from Charleston, and this is my video blog, my vlog for my new student dialogue, something we have to do here as freshmen at Clemson for the Library 100 course. And the name of my new student dialogue is The Game of Life, an exploration of socio-economic status. The description of this new student dialogue was: each member throughout society belongs to a socio-economic group. This dialogue will serve as a platform for students to better understand differing socio-economic statuses. It will challenge students to recognize the effect of socio-economic status on the college experience, to explore the reasons behind it, and to challenge the stereotypes surrounding it. So, I went to this new student dialogue, and before I even address any of the questions they left for us, frankly, I wasn't very excited for it, and I didn't really know what I was getting into. None of them were really interesting to me, and the topics sounded that riveting. But I did actually somewhat enjoy this one. We had a simulation that we did where each group that we split up into pretended to be one or another socioeconomic class, or fall under one or another socioeconomic status. And we kind of put a description of what our stereotypes for that socioeconomic status were, and explained why we thought those were stereotypes of that socioeconomic status. And also, we allowed people, after that whole thing was said and done, everyone sat around in a group and we explained which ones of these stereotypes that we had determined were not actually accurate in people's opinions. So we would scratch them off the list that we made. And I do not actually feel like our group achieved true dialogue. No one really seemed too interested in the topic. I mean, there were a couple people who were very, very active, but I think that's just because of the nature of those individuals. There was a certain guy who probably was the one who talked the most the entire time, but he was also very joking. Like he obviously didn't want to be there, and he took it seriously once we got into the whole shebang. But before that, he was just joking around, messing with the instructors and whatnot. And I mean, it made things a little bit more fun because, frankly, it wasn't very entertaining. But I feel like our group did not achieve true dialogue, because a true dialogue, I don't remember the definitions that they gave us. They actually defined what dialogue meant versus discussion and whatnot in our group. But a true dialogue, in my opinion, would involve every member of the group that is in the dialogue or in the meeting. And there were definitely members, myself included, who were not very engaged, who were not very interested, and frankly, simply didn't want to be there. And I don't think that in that way we achieved true dialogue. In fact, I think we were pretty far from it. And yeah, in that way, the answer to that question would be no. But I think we could have achieved true dialogue had this been maybe something that was they were actually grading versus pass fail. So we had to participate on a much greater level, then people might have been more active. I'm not exactly sure how it could have been improved, but it would have been much more interesting had everyone been participating. The next question they give for us is: share your observations of the dynamics of your group. And I've already mentioned some of that. That one guy was very active, while some other people definitely weren't. I had a friend in the same dialogue with me, and she sat next to me, and we kind of just joked around, didn't really pay attention very much because it wasn't too engaging for us. The leaders of the dialogue, they weren't actually that entertaining. They kind of passionate about the subject, but it kind of seemed like they were doing it just to be, or to get it in their credentials, like to put it on their resume. It didn't seem like they were really that passionate about leading people. They were kind of passionate about the topic, but not about actually leading groups. But there was another very active voice in my group that I do remember, another very active voice in my dialogue, And this man was actually an older guy. He was probably like 40 or 50 years old, and he's coming back to college. So this socioeconomic status stuff related a lot more to him because he has actually lived it out, and he's coming back to college to get a better education so that he can provide more for his family than what he previously has. And to him, this was a very important dialogue. It was a very important topic because it applied a lot more directly to his life so far than it has applied to my life or to the majority of college students, at least from my perspective. Because to be honest, I don't think about socioeconomic class very often. I am well off. I'm probably in the higher of classes. I wouldn't consider myself rich or my family rich, but we are definitely well off, and I have no worries in that manner, and for that I'm thankful. So this isn't something I think about too much, which is why I was somewhat interested in it as opposed to the other topics that we were presented with. But as I've mentioned, there were many more reserved voices in our dialogue. Plenty of people just simply didn't talk very much or were uncomfortable with speaking, and thus it wasn't as engaging, as much of a dialogue as I would hope it would be. Um, and my role in the group, I didn't talk very much when we got into the individual groups versus the entire dialogue discussion. When we got into individual socioeconomic status groups, I talked a lot more. I provided the stereotypes that were on my mind, but I don't really feel comfortable talking about the subject because it wasn't something that I was really interested in, and I kind of just want to get out of there, frankly. But the next part is, why do you think dialogue is a component of Library 100? Do you see dialogue as a useful tool in your university experience? I think it's a component of Library 100 just because it makes us engage more with our fellow students at Clemson, and it makes us understand what Clemson has to provide for us. They are not just looking at us as students who are strictly learning academics, but they're trying to help us with life skills as well. This is a university that's hoping to provide well-rounded or form more well-rounded individuals by the end of the time you're here versus just someone who has knowledge based on classes they've taken and just throw them into the work world once they graduate. So I think Library 100 is, or I think the dialogue part of Library 100 is somewhat of a useful tool, depending on what you, in my university experience, depending on what someone takes out of it. I didn't really get much out of it. It makes me do this vlog. It makes me put some time into something that isn't schoolwork per se, but it's not really that useful. It's kind of a waste of time, in my opinion, for many, and it is for me, in my opinion. But many people might get more out of it than I did. And any additional thoughts or observations I see fit. I still have to finish Library 100. We have 3 days to do it, maybe 2, I can't remember, and this is an issue I need to get done. And in that respect, it's a complete waste of time because I want to be studying for exams like my math exam that is in a little bit less than 3 hours. So, on that note, I'm going to sign out. This has been nice. A discussion on the new student dialogue, the game of life, an exploration of socioeconomic status, and my opinions on it, and so long. Have a good day.